Time now for this week's Health Matters with physician assistant Lynn Szabo. Paul Critz with you here in the Fug House. And it's the first time we're recording in a couple of weeks. And over the course of those 2 weeks, a lot has happened. Here, Health Matters has been picked up by our friends down in Eureka at KZZH-LP. So thanks, Matt. Matt and Sean and everyone down there at KZZH. Thanks for catching on to the good things we're doing here with Health Matters. And then also in those 2 weeks, Lynn Szabo left the country.
That's right.
Where'd you go?
To Yucatan.
The Yucatan.
In Mexico.
Ooh, I just like the sound of that.
I know.
I'd rather say the Yucatan.
Ooh, I know how to say some Mayan words now.
Oh, some Mayan words,
Yeah,
really? Like
yeah.
what? Give us one. Drop us a some.
Like, wah.
What's that mean?
Tortillas. But you have to say it with this
Wah.
emphasis.
Wah.
Tortillas.
Can you just drop it conversationally? Like you'll be talking, I'm talking about
Yeah,
wah.
like
You have to
blah,
still.
blah, blah, blah. Wah.
Wow,
Blah, blah,
wow,
blah, blah.
okay. Oh my God, all right.
So,
Wow, right on.
yeah, thank you, Doña Guadalupe. She taught me how to make tortillas the Mayan way.
So now you weren't just going down there to dip your toes in the jungle. You were there. You were on a trip, a supervised trip, in an official capacity.
Right.
Tell us about that.
So my daughter's, the charter school in Arcata they graduated from, and it was a long time ago. They remain a community in our life, and they were going to travel with some medically frail kids, and they needed, some medical support. So
Wow. Can you talk about what the frailties were that you had to be there to help with?
Two known seizure disorders,
Okay.
known kidney stones, which was unusual in a young person.
Right.
Some psych issues that required med management, and then all the boo-boos and trouble that kids managed to get in, including, as you would expect in Mexico, I guess. I hope that's not shaming, but
No, I know.
Tourista's a thing,
It is, and if you're the parent of a concern of a kid with a medical
Right.
concern, then having somebody along, you don't want to send them into a whole other healthcare system in another
Right.
country and have worries, and so
Right.
so
and
you
COVID, because 2 years ago I went on the trip to Zion. That was kind of a bust after about 5 days because everybody got COVID.
because everybody got
So, except for me.
Uh-huh.
So COVID's always a concern when you travel, and kids get sick. They get colds. I suppose they get strep throats, but I have no way to diagnose that except using the Centaur criteria. They get boo-boos. They get blisters. They get, there was a lot of swimmers' ear because we were swimming in cenotes, which are natural. It's like when the limestone above the natural water table collapses, then you have this huge pool.
like a sinkhole filled with
Yeah,
water,
simple,
basically.
exactly. and for the Mayans, that was a way they communicated with the gods. And so at the bottom of these, and they're pretty deep, there's a bunch of Mayan skeletons. People got pitched in.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Mayans don't swim. Interesting factoid.
Wow,
I don't
okay.
like it. So, but the kids swam in it, and it's so refreshing because the heat is certainly oppressive. It was
Oh,
about
the heat down. Yeah, you were talking about there was a heat wave going on.
Yeah, there's a heat wave, and they were supposed to be in their rainy season. They've had no rain since February.
Oh, wow.
Which is super unusual,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like 102 degrees, but with the humidity at 87, that feels like about
700 degrees. Yeah.
And you can't sweat effectively, so you're always kind of covered with this dripping sweat. I mean, it really is dripping. I haven't sweated like that in my entire life, and then you get dust because it's kind of a dusty place. And so you've got this like thin layer of grit everywhere.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, did you have to confront any of the medical emergencies that were anticipated or
Right.
planned for?
We had a little viral syndrome go around. Somebody had a fever seizure. She's fine. There was lots of otitis externa, which is swimmer's ear, because the kids were in the water constantly.
No way, yeah.
And I'm sitting there on the sideline going, amoebas? No.
No.
And, I had a certain amount of equipment, but It was rudimentary, although it turned out to be all the right choices, I think. And then, of course, there was a nurse mother who also had a first aid kit, and whatever I seemed to be missing, she had, and whatever she was missing, I had.
Now, what sorts of things did you need?
I didn't use my stethoscope.
Oh, wow, okay.
I didn't use the blood pressure cuff I brought.
Okay.
I did need some medicine. We'll talk about how I got that.
Okay.
I mostly needed electrolyte solution, and you can buy that for 32 pesos.
Oh, wow.
And
wow.
so, usually you think you'd drink something like Gatorade or Pedialyte, kind of like not very often. They were chugging it like water. Number one, it tasted better, and it was, as they say, potable, so it was safe to drink.
Right.
But it just made you feel so much better.
Sure. If you're losing everything through your sweat glands
right.
like that.
And the kids with Turista, of course, were losing potassium, so that was a way to replenish that. So it was a lot of kind of nothing really terrible, thinking on my feet, trying to improvise out of the box with the tools I had. And all the kids came back alive and healthy.
Oh, that's the most important part.
But I'm exhausted. when I say that.
Was there anything that you didn't have that you wish you had?
Lamodal, maybe.
What's Lamodal?
Diarrhea medicine.
Oh, okay, like Imodium.
But I bought Pepto-Bismol, which is more the drug of choice. So, we'll talk about how pharmacies are like super better.
Okay, all right. So I mean, that was like specifically about your personal trip
Right.
to the Yucatan. Would you find out then while you were away on assignment? We'll call it.
Well, I had my Hippocrates, which is an app on my phone that's a medical library. So I found that super helpful, and I could just decide what I wanted to do clinically.
Just a base question: was there any issue with getting online?
No,
Cool, good.
Not most of the time, but some of the time. It was pretty. We were in
Kind of like Del Norte.
Maybe a little better.
A little better than Del Norte. Okay, all right, okay.
But I was able to, you go back to the basics and you identify, correct this, correct this. Oh my God, they're better. Okay, moving on. Who's the next sickie?
Right.
And the hardest thing actually was remembering their names because these are not kids that I'm super familiar with.
How many kids were you with?
37.
Oh my gosh, yeah, okay.
And it's not cool to say, what's going on with swimmer zero guy,
Yeah, right.
because I'm not really registering names very well at this point in my career. But it was super fun. Let me put a plug in for the kindness of the people there.
Okay.
Because I did have a family member who freaked out and was certain I was, riding to my doom. And the people were uniformly kind. They were doing things differently, but that's not necessarily worse. I only saw on the streets 4 of the national police people, and they're always look imposing because they have machine guns and they cover their faces and stuff. The ones I saw, they had the guns, but their faces weren't covered. Okay. So I don't think it was a tense or fearful situation. They certainly have this police force stationed at the border, which is super reasonable. And when you're going in and out of an international airport, they're kind of boredly standing there to see if you're going to make a break for it or something.
I remember when I was much younger, being in San Felipe, which is on the on the Sea of Cortez, kind of up on
beautiful.
And seeing that for the first time, seeing the National Police walk, and I thought, what a sweet gig! You just walk in the beach with your submachine gun.
Yeah, and wonder why they're wearing a mask.
Well, they weren't back then. This was before all that. This was in the 90s. It was before all that stuff.
Well, there's this in the back. The political background here is today is the presidential election for Mexico, and they are poised to elect their first woman president.
Wow. Now, is that a good thing, or is she like a woman Trump?
No. She'll get the job done.
She'll get right on. Good.
Yeah.
I didn't know if they were
Sheinbaum, I think is her name.
Sweet.
And there's all these political posters around and stuff. So I speak Spanish, and I'm reading all this stuff going, And plus, I was in a little Mayan village, and they're just driving a truck around with a loudspeaker and blah, blah, blah,
Just
political, with really loud music, as if that's, I thought it was funny, as if that's really going to convince anybody.
I could just, that would make me so angry.
I know. It's like, shut up.
Shut up. I'm not voting for that guy now.
Yeah. It's like, hey, Miguel Santos is voting for this guy. I better get on board. But I think it's going to be a definitive change.
Okay.
And my hope is that she survives her presidency.
Right.
So, because there's a lot of candidates around Acapulco and stuff who are getting stuffed, like 29 of them.
29 political candidates?
Not just presidential. It's
across the country, yeah.
From what I can read, like senator, representative, town mayor.
And so regionally, the narco folks are.
Well, it's hot in Acapulco right now, and that seems to be where the violence was.
Mm-hmm.
For reference, I was across the country.
Yeah, all the way on the other side.
Right, our kids were perfectly safe.
Yeah.
Perfectly safe. They were hot. They were whiny, but they were safe.
they were of that age, but yes, they were safe. Okay, I can't imagine 37 middle school kids, charter school or not, 37 middle school kids. Oh my gosh!
And this charter school has a reputation for attracting kind of unique kids.
Oh wow!
And being a place for. That's why my daughters went actually. Mm-hmm. And how do I explain it? They're more tolerant, I think, of neurodiversity, which is super cool.
Wow, yeah.
Super
excellent.
Cool. And they internationally travel every other year. So
every kid going through gets
the
a chance to do it. Wow.
And their last international travel was pre-COVID because they got off schedule, and they went to Thailand.
Oh my God.
This is the second Mexico trip I've taken with this school. It's my family's third Mexican trip.
I don't know what they're doing with middle schools these days, but it's a lot different.
This is a public school, folks. We could have it here.
Wow.
Anybody that's into helping me, I'm thinking about leading the charge.
Okay. All right. Wow. Okay. Let's send our kids someplace.
Yeah. So here's what's cool, and so I'm kind of triggered to talk about Mexican medicine and how they do it right, and how, what we could learn from them. Mm-hmm. And there's a number of main points. So here's what's cool about medicine in Mexico.
Okay.
It's made up of a combination of public institutions and private hospitals, clinics, and physicians.
Okay.
So everybody has a generalized health insurance, and you can go to the public doctor, clinic, hospital, and get care. So, or you can have that in reserve, and then you could buy insurance or get insurance through your work if you have work that offers it. And you can choose kind of a parallel line of private hospitals, clinics, and physicians.
So the public side, the public insurance everybody gets, the state-sponsored, single payer, whatever, right? That's only good at the public facilities, correct? But not the private facilities.
So you could argue that's a little bit redundant, but...
no, it's tiered is what it is. So is there any benefit to having more, of course, having more resources and going to the private side?
The benefit is if you have private, I guess supplemental insurance, you wait less. You tend to see your physician or be in the hospital with less crowding. You have better patient satisfaction overall, and the length of appointments are twice as long as they are here. So it's not uncommon to have, 15. No, it's not uncommon to have like an hour consultation. Wow. And so what I'm told by my friends who have family in Mexico is you think of every little thing that you ever wondered about your health, and the doctor will address it. Here, it's like, is it going to kill you in the parking lot? Then
no,
out
of
here. Yeah, we're over.
So that's always seemed like such an interesting sort of division. And I don't know this, but I think, isn't this how England does it as well? There's like two tracks, and you can pay to supplement one with the other, right?
But here's the deal: only about 6.9% of citizens actually supplement.
Really? Why is that?
It's a wealth tier. That's kind of obvious. But I think it's because most people do okay.
Right. You get what you need.
In the regular public system. So what I was told by a physician about a year ago as we walked under the starry sky in Bahia de Los Angeles, another field trip, is she said that when she graduated from medical school in Tijuana, the last part of her training was to commit to 2 years. Now, this woman came from a wealthy family.
But you have to do your time, right?
She's thinking about plastic surgery, and she is in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
With few resources except her mind, not even a medical library at the time. That wasn't a thing. And so it's not like you're getting physicians that aren't invested or trained or bright or...
This is a way for her to pay off her education?
No.
Why was she mandated to do those 2 times?
This was a requirement.
You have to do
for her to graduate 2 years in nowhere, so that she could serve the people.
Wow.
And so the physicians that are working in the public health system are actually pretty good. They do have less gee whiz medical equipment. Okay,
sure,
so maybe
right,
their EKG machine has to be like whacked once in a while. And I don't know what they have as far as ancillary healthcare. Of note, they do not have PAs. There's not even a word for it. So they do not have nurse practitioners.
Is it because just access to your physician isn't a question?
It's just a physician.
Wow.
And probably nurses ancillary in the hospital. And I bet they get some people from Cuba.
You think?
From the Cuban,
from the medical school?
From Havana.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but I don't know that for sure.
Oh, yeah, we've talked about what they do in Cuba, which is just remarkable.
Yeah, like, why aren't we listening to this?
Yeah.
And at many of the doctor's offices, this is cool, are open 24 hours.
Really? How's that work?
24 hours, 7 days a week. So what you see when you're walking down the street is you see a farmacia or pharmacy also open 24 hours, 24/7. And then the doctor's office is right next door.
Okay.
Probably even adjoining buildings at some level. And, you pay or you present your insurance to go in and see the private physician and, they hear your 87 complaints and then they tell you what to do.
Any time of day?
Yeah.
Wow.
Can't sleep? You could go talk to your doctor about your sleeping problem at 3 a.m. So, I don't know what kind of financial interests they have in the pharmacies. That might be an interesting question because they seem joined. But, but for those of us in Del Norte who don't have pharmacy care, oftentimes on the weekends or the holidays,
let alone
or even the lunch
night.
hour,
right,
24/7 is like mind-blowing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's impressive. That's really, really impressive to me.
I think it's super logical.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. So they have measurable results showing that the poor get the care they need. So increase in life expectancy, decreased maternal mortality around childbirth, decreased mortality for communicable and non-communicable diseases. My
just across
here says morality.
Really?
Sorry.
Wow.
And their health care is 5% of GDP. Most of the time it bounced up to 6.2 and they took care of it and went back down to 5.
Oh my God.
So the other thing that I didn't really say is that their constitution guarantees for every Mexican citizen access to free health care and medication.
That is a right you're guaranteed.
That's a
by,
right you're
by
guaranteed,
writ of
constitutional. We obsess about guns. They obsess about
Doesn't sound like
life.
they obsessed about it. They just said, okay, this is how it goes.
Right.
Wow.
So you have to remember, so when I traveled, I was in near Cancun and Puerto Morales, and then we spent some time on an island off the coast at Isla Holbox, and which is kind of in the Mayan community. But then we really deep dive into the Mayan community. We were in Ekbalam, which is a site of one of the most amazing pyramids.
Oh, wow.
So there's a lot of Mayan people running around. There's a common commitment to the Mayan language. So, it's not just Se habla español. Everything is translated in duplicate because a lot of the older Mayans don't necessarily speak Spanish. A lot of younger people understand English, but the older people don't. So I translated a lot, which was super fun because I learned a lot.
Yeah.
And I saw them having, they're living in traditional Mayan houses. Now, part of this is they're attracting tourists, but these look like lived-in houses.
Like that's their life. What's a traditional Mayan house like?
It's thatched roof, tiny door, because they're petite and gracile people.
Okay.
So they're about 5 foot.
I thought it was to keep the jaguars out.
Maybe the goats and the chickens out.
Yeah.
There's they cook inside. They have this like a family compound, a special cooking house, but they cook off the fire with 3 rocks because 3 is a sacred number to them.
Wow.
And they dedicate the Trinity of the Hearth to their newborn girls. It's an important thing that they
the Trinity of the Hearth. I just love that as a phrase.
I
That's
know.
beautiful.
Thank you, Doña Guadalupe. I mean, she's like a wealth of Mayan information. So, there's chickens wandering around and cats, and there's random dogs on the street, and there's stuff that would make us go, oh my. But I don't sweat it.
Just sit and look out at Elk Valley for an afternoon. That'll get you over that. But yeah,
Right.
that's not a thing. And it looks like they're actually like living in this situation. It isn't like a mock-up for you guys, for the gringos.
No,
It's
because
like
inside of the cooking tent,
There's
not
soot.
tent, or shack, was like completely carbonized.
Wow. Okay.
It wasn't just soot. I mean,
this
you
is
couldn't
where-
just go like that. Carbonized. Like the surface of, they had a tiny refrigerator. I don't know if they used it as a refrigerator. I don't think so. Or as a
lock cabinet or something, or
something like that. And, it's completely carbonized.
Wow.
And,
So it's legit. It's like,
It's super legit.
Yeah. That's wonderful.
Yeah, it was wonderful. It was a great experience. So, but here's, we talked about the pharmacies. Here's what I did. I had a couple of, swimmer's ear and traveler's diarrhea where I had to access the pharmacy to get medication. So I assess the kid, get as many vitals as I can, make a clinical decision, go into my medical library. This is not different than what I do here.
Right.
And, decide what medicine and what dosing, I'm going to give a particular kid, assess for allergies, go to the pharmacy. So when you're in the pharmacy, it looks a lot like, first of all, they're tiny. They're about the size of your kitchen.
The kitchen,
dining
yeah.
area, so
They're like little kiosks. I've seen, it's the same in India and things. I've seen online too. And these pharmacies are open all hours and they're just little holes in the wall.
Right. And then the main part of it there is the same kind of over-the-counter stuff we would find here. So, like Band-Aids or gum for the kids or aspirin. And then there's a counter where you pay. And behind the counter, there's a person who identified themselves as a pharmacist. And there's all these prescription meds. Now, these are not brands or formulations that were super familiar to me.
Okay.
But in consultation with the pharmacist, I was able to, what do you got? What do you think I'll need? How much does this cost? What's the dosing? Because the dosing is super obscure. That's the one thing I would ask that, I can read Spanish. So if they just put the dosing,
in a particular medicine or whatever, just how much you're getting in each pill or vial or spoonful. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Milligramos. So I was able to buy the same Pepto-Bismol, which is the treatment choice for traveler's diarrhea, works very well, that I would have gotten here. It was instructions in Spanish on the box. The same weird cherry flavor.
Yeah.
that nobody likes.
They didn't spice it up or anything. Oh, come on.
Right. And then my other options were things like Lamodal. And so I didn't really need antibiotics for anybody except for topical antibiotics for otitis externa, which is known as swimmer's ear. And the preparation I got was super interesting and kind of as a relevant offside story. So what I got was a little bottle of ear drops that had chloramphenicol in it, which is never an antibiotic I have ever used. So I had to figure out the safety and appropriateness for kids. It had hydrocortisone in it, which is fine. Our preparations here oftentimes have antibiotics and hydrocortisone, which is a steroid. And then the third thing was lidocaine, which is never in ear preparations here. So worried parents might remember that a long time ago there was a pain medicine that you could drip in your child's ear at nighttime when they're screaming, and then all of a sudden it disappeared.
It was just lidocaine, right?
Assume
something like that.
Benzocaine,
but still another cane, another
Right.
pain relief thing.
So, Pharmacy Bro, I don't know if it's him in particular, but the same thing happened to this preparation. It's called Algin or something like that, or Ralgan. That's it. And
The one in Mexico.
no, the one here is
Okay.
a Ralgan.
Gotcha.
And, it was super a standard that mothers everywhere loved to get the whole family to sleep. And then it disappeared. And what happened is the pharmacy industry figured out they couldn't make money for it, so they didn't make it. Same thing that happened with the EpiPen. Remember that?
I do. You mean EpiPens are gone?
EpiPens were gone for a while, and then they were crazy expensive.
Oh, okay. No, I have no idea. Is it
So-
because it was?
This little bottle of pain medication, which has a super specialized use, but a really important one to a crazed parent with a child in pain.
Right.
I mean, how much more compelling can it get?
Well, it could happen in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So I was able to buy drops that had a similar pain control, which was well appreciated by my patients.
I bet. So
And I think the little bottle of a triple drug topical cost about I think 80 pesos.
oh my god,
So pesos right now I think are about $2 to $10.
$10 for that. Oh my god.
Freaking cheap.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it worked really well. And everybody got better, which is the whole goal.
I'm beside myself with that whole thing with the
I
lidocaine. And
know.
that's just, it didn't make money. It helped people almost
but it
too
was
well.
so specifically used
It's just
that they
such a
couldn't
niche.
sell enough.
Oh my
But each
God.
unit that they sold of a very cheap drug, safe drug, just wasn't making them, they weren't
Wow.
feeling the love on that.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh god, I'm so ashamed.
I know.
Okay.
So,
Okay, so we're getting toward the end here, and I'm apoplectic. We're just a couple of minutes left.
let me
so
tell you about COVID.
Tell me about COVID.
Because that was a concern. Are we going down there? Are we going to, because one of these trips nationally was canceled because of COVID.
Okay.
In the middle of the trip, we were ready to hike Angel's Landing, and then boom, everybody got sick.
Oh my god.
I know, it was weird. So COVID was on my list. I brought COVID tests. I brought masks. I brought Paxlovid for adults where it was appropriate, and nobody got COVID.
No, everything's fine.
Everything's fine.
Wow.
And so I wondered about that, and I remember that most of Mexico, like almost all, very close to 100% adherence with the vaccine, and their vaccine was Sinovac from China.
Really? Now, how effective was Sinovac thought to be?
It was like, meh.
Yeah.
But if you get enough people immunized, apparently it works better,
Then you do get the herd immunity then like that?
You get the herd immunity. We had zero COVID concerns.
That's nuts. Oh my God.
I know. Isn't that cool?
So, wow. So, I mean, okay, all of this, it was a very unique situation. 1 minute left.
Right.
Any tips for anybody thinking about traveling abroad? Something you can leave our listener with? Be sure to take...
Bring Pepto-Bismol.
Okay,
Not the liquid. That chewable, weird cherry flavor.
Oh, okay, all right.
Because, there's not potable water in a lot of places that are
Right.
interesting to go.
That's an interesting thing, too. If you're there and you're looking for something to drink and you're afraid about the water, but to go to the kind of...
Yeah, water's for sale everywhere. That's something cold water's for sale.
Wow.
So water bottles with inherent internalized filters, like you would take up in the Trinities if you're worried about Giardia,
Right.
worked perfectly.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good to know. Lynn, thank you very much. That sounded like a wonderful trip. I'm glad everybody came home safe, and it's good to have you back.
Yeah, good to be back.
All right, we'll see you next week. Lynn
Uh-huh.
Szabo, thanks.